You're listening to the Multiverse Fancast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fancast. Don't forget, you can take us on the go with Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or basically anywhere that you get your podcasts. Don't forget to check out our website, themisfitfaction.com, where you'll see some articles, links to all of our podcasts, as well as some of our merchandise. With me in the studio, we have the one, the only, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, Ronnie. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Or incredible.
It's going to be an episode. Oh, boy.
Oh, you're so welcome for
I like
that.
how you tee yourself up for your own jokes.
If you're not going to do it, I got to do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. So I have to do it.
You're like a self-opening piñata, Ronnie. I don't even need to hit you to get the candy.
Was that a fat joke?
No, it was just a compliment.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. It's up to the listeners at this point.
All right, but what we're going to do is, this is like, I feel like the first time in a while we actually have a news segment in our show.
Yeah, it's been a little dry.
Yeah, it has been. There really hasn't been any news out there in, the superhero genre or anything like that. But today we do have a little bit of news. So, Paul, what's some news that we got?
So, first and foremost, sad news will start. They recently announced on HBO Max is canceling Doom Patrol and Titans.
Yeah.
I'm so pissed.
Yeah, I never watched Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol was fantastic.
Yes, I heard it was fantastic, but I've seen three seasons?
Yeah. Titans on its fourth season.
Yeah.
They did one of those like 4A, 4B type deals.
Yeah.
So after it comes back for 4B, it's done.
Yeah.
Stupid.
I wonder if they knew that.
So everybody immediately attacked James Gunn like, hey, you did this and he's like, whoa, this was in the works before I got here. Mm-hmm. At least that's what he's claiming. Yeah. So I don't think we'll ever really know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I did enjoy Titans.
Titans was a lot of fun, and it got better and better. Doom Patrol, I watched the first season fully. I started the second one, but I didn't have the time to sit down and watch it. But now I'm gonna have to, because they're both great shows. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed Titans when it first came out. It took a little while to find its legs.
Yeah.
But then Doom Patrol came out running.
Yeah.
Like, it was rated R Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's all. And it's what we didn't know we needed. But it's really funny because apparently James Gunn's wife is going to be in everything. Amelia Harcourt. She's going to be in everything. He like nepotism at its best.
Yeah, right.
This continuity is strange. And they were supposed to announce, like, he kept saying by the end of January he was going to announce the first set of films on his slate. And as of recording, it's January 29th. We have not heard jack or squat.
2.5 more days for him to say something.
On Monday. He's going to be like, all right, guys.
But I like that. He's like, all right, so I'm going to make movies, so I'm going to get paid from the studio, but at the same time, I'm going to get paid double because my wife's going to be in it, and her money is my money. So really, you guys are paying me billions of dollars instead of millions.
I know. He's scamming the system. But you know what? I'd scam the system, too, if I could.
Yeah, right.
And I do like Hardcore. I think she was fun in Peacemaker. And then, obviously, we see her in Black Adam. We're like, oh, it's that lady.
Look, I recognize her.
Yeah, that's weird. We also have this new Shazam trailer dropped this week. And Ronnie just watched it for the first time, so I'll let him say his initial thoughts.
To me, it seems like there's a lot of high stakes, but at the same time, they're going heavy on the comedy.
Yeah.
In the trailer, at least. I hope they don't rely on comedy too much. I would like to see a little bit more seriousness like we had in Black Adam. Mm-hmm. But you still need your little Zachary Levi quips in there too, though.
Yeah, the problem with, and we've said it before in DC, the problem is you have all these different characters that have such different feels and tones to them.
Yeah.
Like Batman and Superman should not feel like the same. I think that's one of the reasons Batman vs Superman suffered, is because they just all got dark. But Marvel goes the opposite, where they're all just doing quips and being funny. Like, look at Thor Love and Thunder.
Oh, God.
They went too far, but you look at Thor from like the first Thor movie, like that doesn't doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No.
But Marvel went kind of the same way, where it was like every character is really funny.
Yeah.
Like even Steve Rogers gets a couple of jabs every once in a while. So I don't know. I think that DC's real success is going to be in diversifying its movies and then having those characters interact with each other.
Yes.
And be like, stop killing people, but I like killing people. Like Hawkman and Black Adam were a lot of fun to work with just because they had such conflicting ideologies. But I forgot the Oscar nominations came out. We have a couple of superhero films. The biggest ones, I think the Batman got like 3, but I feel like it got snubbed for some sort of screenplay award or even like something for Paul Dano because he was fantastic.
Yes.
But Angela Bassett, Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. I hope she wins it. So we talked a little bit about the Oscars on Cinematic Adventures this week. That's our other podcast.
That is. So make sure you take a listen to it.
Segue.
Segue to what? A shameless plug?
Shameless plug. And I think that's pretty much all the big news.
Well, thank you, sir. That was very delightful.
It was uncomfortable for me.
Was it, though?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Well, moving right along.
Can you take your hand off my thigh, please?
I thought that's where it belonged.
Oh, I thought that was the microphone. Anywho.
Who would have thunk?
Nobody.
But, so we have a nice little fun episode for you guys today. Today we are taking a little trip back in time to 2004. Yeah, so, wow.
We were in high school.
2000, my mind.
Oh.
I knew it was like early-ish 2000s. I didn't think it was that early, and now I'm like, wow, that was almost 20 years ago at this point. But we are going the animated route. We haven't really done an animated superhero thing.
It's been a minute.
In quite some time. Yeah. So if you haven't guessed already by your hints of 2004 animation, we are going to be talking about The Incredibles. To me, this is probably one of the most underrated and underappreciated superhero movies of all time.
It really is. It's such a great it's a great depiction of superheroes and the good, the bad, the ugly, and all that stuff. This movie's fantastic. The sequel's okay too.
Yeah, this to me was the Sokovia Accords before the Sokovia Accords.
A little bit, yeah.
Because going slightly ahead of ourselves, but like going into the beginning of the movie, it's no more superheroes allowed because of all the destruction, and the government has to pay for everything, and and all this stuff, and that's essentially what the Sokovia Accords is.
We did an episode why superpowers would suck in real life, and it actually had a very good response because people were like, "Yeah, they kind of would," and this was like the movie that kind of showed a little bit of that. And this is a Pixar movie.
Yeah, it's a Disney Pixar movie.
It starts off with a suicide attempt.
Yeah, it was almost made for families, but also at the same time kind of geared towards like teens and a little bit of like adults, because you see struggling with everyone. You have just a quick little talk about the family, right? You have Mr. Incredible, the dad, right? You have Elastigirl, mom. You have Violet, who's like the little teen angst,
older sister.
You have Dash, who's the, elementary school little bratty brother.
His name is actually Dashel. I did not know that.
Yep.
Dashel.
And then you have the baby Jack.
Yes.
So that is your family, your incredible family right there.
The Incredibles.
And it was very relatable too.
Yeah, it was the Fantastic Four movie we really should have gotten.
Yeah.
And they all have powers of the Fantastic Four, which is even crazier.
Right.
But it's if you're in a family and you have kids or you're a parent, as kids we related to the kids. So that's why they kind of take center stage in the middle of the movie, and that was the target audience. The second movie does a little bit more about changing parent roles and stuff like that. So this movie's a great commentary on families in general. And then it just throws in here's the twist, superpowers.
Yeah.
Go.
So what's kind of like your initial thoughts on The Incredibles?
So I still say that the opening scene is one of my favorite superhero opening scenes of all time. You get the montage. So we get introduced to Mr. Incredible. He's like the most popular superhero and all that stuff, young and all that. And they do the news clips of all of them and him, Frozone, Elastigirl. Mm-hmm. And the movie starts off, he's in a tuxedo, he's in his car, he's going somewhere, and he's like, I got time. Yeah. I got plenty of time. That's me in the morning. I keep and then I'm late. Yeah. But you get this great superhero montage, and it starts off with a suicide attempt. Yeah. That's wild. And the guy, he catches the guy and he hurts his neck or something like that. Yeah. Hey, I saved your life. You didn't save my life. You ruined it, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the guy turns around and sues him.
Yeah.
for saving him. Fun fact, in most modern states in America, Good Samaritan laws would prohibit some sort of lawsuit like that. But again, it's wild. And these are all government-sponsored superheroes, which is even crazier.
Yeah.
Like, they all have some sort of government, like a liaison and somebody who runs them. And we kind of get to see that. But, yeah, that opening scene is always just, like, the train, like, all the people on the train. And then it makes you think, like, wow, all these things would happen in real life. And we end up, all superheroes get relocated, and he gets put into a job that he hates, and he's just miserable. It's wild. And that's the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, crazy. What about you?
You know, kind of like I said earlier, I think this to me is up there as, like, in my eyes, one of the best superhero movies we've ever had. You know, animated or live action, does not matter. You know, from the different themes, the character developments that we see, you know, the little mix of comedy that we have that we know Marvel/Disney loves to put into their superhero movies and everything, you know, and it kind of sheds a light on, you know, almost like, you know, you have Who Wants to Be Incrediboy at the beginning of the movie, you know, like you have that like diehard fan, the devoted fanboy, you know, and things don't go his way. So it's his quote unquote like origin story we almost get of how he became a supervillain.
I'd even argue that he's like the main character of the movie.
Yeah.
Like everything that happens is because of him.
Yes.
And I love Jason Lee. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And Syndrome's another relatable villain.
Yeah.
Where he's like, hey, you spurned me, so I decided that I'm going to become a superhero without superpowers. And he does a great line, you know, when everyone's super, no one is.
Yes.
But like, it's dark. This movie's so dark. He tries to kill kids.
Yeah.
Like the scene where they're firing their missiles at the plane.
Yeah.
And she says there's children on board, and you see what's the secretary, like his assistant's name,
Mirage. Yeah.
Like even she's like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
And when like Mr. Incredible like catches her,
Yeah.
he's like, release me now, or what? I'll crush her. He's like,
Yeah.
ooh, that seems a little dark for you.
Yeah.
It's like they don't play around in this movie with grief and anger and depression.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Say something funny.
Frozone?
Frozone, yes. Yes, let's talk about Frozone. Frozone has probably the most iconic line in the entire movie.
Yes.
The "Where's my super suit?"
Where's my super suit?
You tell me where my suit is, woman. We're talking about the greater good. I am your wife. I am the greatest good you're ever going to get.
That, to me, I think that's one of the things that makes this movie, like, how, like, a testament to how good it is there's plenty of things in here that you can remember and you can quote or anything. Usually with superhero movies, I feel like you don't really get that too much, like, quotable stuff. Like, you get moments where something happens, but with this movie, there's a couple different, like, quotable things that you can do. The super suit, you could say that and everyone knows
what
the
movie
movie.
Oh, yeah.
Can say the whole thing and everything.
You can also judge a movie by how memeable it is.
Yes.
And that's a meme. I think him driving the family truck is a meme.
Yeah.
I think there's one or two others, but like, yeah. But
the whole scene of him picking up the car, frustration and everything.
Something amazing. But I know we're getting ahead of ourselves because we're talking about the first movie now. I promised I would. But the second movie has one of my favorite lines of all time, just in general, where he's trying to help Dash with math.
Yes.
And they go, well, this is how we're supposed to do it now. He's like, what's changed? Math is math.
Yeah.
It's just, it made me laugh so hard. Because like at the same time, that was when Common Core was starting in New York. And just, oh my God, parents were freaking out. I still can't do Common Core math.
Yeah.
I still do, quote unquote, the old way.
Oh, I mean, I do it like if I'm helping my daughter out with homework.
Fingers and toes.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. Let's figure it out my way. We get to the answer. And I go, all right, now figure it out the way you're supposed to.
Now go backwards.
We know what the answer is. Get to this.
You know the best was, that's a weird side note, in most math textbooks, if you go to the back, they had answers for the odd question. So whenever like they would go around the classroom and ask, who has the answer? I'd be like, I know this one. Well, how'd you get there? Dang it.
Hold on, let me flip to the back of the book.
End of the book, yeah. All right, let me show you.
Yeah, right?
But, yeah.
What I did was I went to page 736.
I'm surprised you have not talked about your favorite character in this entire movie. Come on, you know.
Edna Mode.
And Guest.
And Guest.
And Guest. Yes, Edna Mode. Brad Bird was Edna Mode. Like, he's he's behind the scenes in this movie.
Yeah.
It's wild, but yeah, Edna Mode, probably one of the most iconic.
Oh, I think it's one of the most iconic characters ever. You know, everyone. Whenever you talk about superheroes and you talk about like lines and different things, I think one of the most common one is no capes.
No capes.
You know, that is just.
Well, she does the whole montage of it, like of all these superheroes dying horrifically.
Yeah. Kagan stuck in the jet engine. You know, it's like. I want to know what was like in their heads when they created this. When Brad Bird created this, what was he thinking? Like, he's making a kid's movie, but putting all these like dark undertones and like
but you know what, that's
scenes in it.
That's Pixar. I like how Pixar does not sugarcoat. They do a great job with with exploring themes that a lot of other movies won't touch. I mean, look at Toy Story 3 when they're all about to die and they're all like having an existential crisis, and we're like, you know, like we're sitting in the theater going, oh no, Woody, Buzz, run. But Pixar, like, they just did Turning Red, and unfortunately Turning Red did not get the love that it deserves, because producer Melanie and I watched it, and it's all about like puberty and girls and especially young women like getting their periods and stuff, and that's they actively talk about it in it, like they mention it, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty ballsy. I'm about it. I think that there's, for some reason, movies get lost somewhere between the PG and the PG-13 rating, and there are plenty of movies that kids could benefit from, but they get that PG-13 rating, and parents are like, So this movie's a great example. I really like, and this is a movie for adults too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but just to go back real quick, I know we talked about towards the beginning of the episode about having superpowers in real life, and we see, you know, kind of what happens, and you know, one of the underlining plots to this is like with Dash is wanting to do sports and everything, but he's not allowed to because of his super speed.
Oh, the ending scene's great.
And,
go faster. No, not that much.
Yeah, so that's
close second.
That's what I was getting to, was like, you know, at the end of the movie, it's all right, do it, and it's like almost in a way, this is what you would want to happen. Like if you had superpowers, it's like I kind of use them, but not really, or I only use them when absolutely needed, not just going around.
All right, so do you think having superpowers is cheating in sports?
No, because technically
it's a natural thing.
It's a natural thing. It's
a natural
biology.
Talent. Yeah, it's like not fair.
Yeah,
like it sucks for you guys, but
yeah,
I would love to see like a superpowered Olympics. That'd be a lot of fun. Like just a bunch of superheroes that just do like Olympic type things.
Yeah,
and then just Superman dominates everyone.
Yeah,
except for the foot race against the Flash.
Yeah.
I think Flash said it in one comic. He's, you know, Superman goes, "I've raced you before, Flash," and he goes, "Those are for charity, Clark." Like he just whoops him. I love it.
And then I think, to me, one of the other, you know, kind of like subplots in this movie is we kind of get it at pretty much the very end as well with Jack.
Oh, okay, all right.
You know,
they made a separate little short for this called Jack Attack or something like that.
Yeah,
where it shows all the weird things that are happening that the babysitter kept calling about.
Yeah, that was great. I remember watching that, but I just remember the whole time they're like trying to, why isn't he showing powers or anything like that? And then at the very end, you see him go through like 2 or 3 different powers that he has. He almost essentially just.
See, I thought he was just I thought he was just like a shapeshifter. Because at the end, he turns to fire.
Yep.
Then he turns to steel. Then he turns into the demon.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, he can shapeshift. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like he could change the way his body is. And then the next movie, we find out that he's got like 42 different powers or something ridiculous.
Like teleportation and.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the second movie. But I see, and that bothered me because in the first movie, I figured they saw that he had they're like, something's happening up there.
Yeah.
I guess they don't realize that he's just turned into a monster.
Yeah.
They can't see.
Yeah, but he kind of, in a way, he's the one that, in a way, kind of like saves the day, too, towards the end when he's going through his little changes, I guess you could say.
His little changes.
Yeah.
Puberty's a tough time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, that's pretty much everything with this movie. You know, this was a big success in the box office.
Oh yeah, killed it.
I mean, its budget was roughly 100 million, a little bit over 100 million, and it made $631.6 million.
And that's just its movie run. This movie has such a following behind it, a huge following.
Yep. I know my youngest brother, who was born in 2000, so he was 2004 when this came out in theaters. I remember he used to watch this movie when it came out on VHS, because VHS was still a thing back then.
What is it? What? What's a VHS?
Yeah, right?
Of
us?
Of us?
I remember he used to watch this like every single day. He would put it on, watch it constantly. This is just a testament to its time, that...
I also think that the fact that it takes place in a non-specified time frame, it's not very period specific. Like, it's got some old school look to it. It's kind of like a Batman the Animated Series, or like the first Batman movie with Tim Burton did, where it's got a very unique aesthetic, but it doesn't really determine what year this is.
Like, you almost have to be like, oh, this must be 2004. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing that really tells you that it's 2004, or is it 1990s? Is it, 2037 or whatever? Yeah,
like all the cars are old school looking and stuff like that, but like the technology's super advanced. Syndrome's able to build a robot.
Yeah,
it's bigger. It's better. I still say like his plan was actually pretty solid. Yeah. Syndrome. I like when he makes his appearance and he's like, "Is that Vironic? No, Vironic's got a different color. No, I'm a different. I'm a new superhero." But God, this again, you can't say enough nice things about this movie. And I think one of the things that still surprises me is how well they did the superpowers, especially Elastigirl.
Yeah,
flexibility powers, like the stretching powers, we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
We still have a very long way to go. We had it first in Fantastic Four. Yep. Ironically, that came out a year after this.
Yes.
They had to rewrite the script so it wasn't so similar to this, apparently. But like even Reed Richards, it's rough to watch. It's pretty janky. It's a little bit better in the second one, but they're also a little bit more sparing with it. Mm-hmm. But then they came out with Fan Force Stick, and it was okay, the stretching powers, but then the only other time we've seen it is Mr. Fantastic, wow, in Multiverse of Madness. And you only see a little bit. You don't see too much of it.
No. And did you say The Flash?
Oh, Elongated Man in The Flash. We don't talk about Ralph Dibny anymore. He got canceled.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
But, and then, to the point where in Miss Marvel, they decided to give her different powers because she kind of had elastic type powers too. And they were like,
maybe we'll stay away.
Energy-based powers. Okay, because that makes sense. Anywho. Yep. But yeah, anything else on do you want to do a Star City rating for the first one?
Of course we are.
I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Yeah.
This movie's an almost perfect movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to, and again, I don't even know what's taking it from not being a 5. Maybe it's just because I very rarely give out 5s. Like, but this is a near perfect movie.
100% agree.
Yeah.
4.5. I'm in the same boat with you. Like, why is it not a 5 if you're asking? I can't really tell you.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I'm like, this movie to me isn't a 5. At the same time, it's like, I don't know what's really wrong with it to not have it as a 5. But to me, I think the only movie I've ever given a 5, I'm pretty sure, is probably Winter Soldier.
That's fair.
I think every other movie, you have a lot of movies that are close, but this one in particular, 4.5, it could just be that maybe slight bias because it's animated and it's not live action, possibly. I don't know, but plot point is there, screenplay, animation, everything is there for this movie. So yeah, I would say 4.5 for me in this movie. But what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the second movie, which is, in my humble opinion, close to being just as good as the first one.
Wow, that's a bold statement, Cotton.
Yeah. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick commercial break.
Hey guys, it's Paul, and the Misfit Faction is looking for your help. We are trying to grow not only our network, but also grow our brands. And the best way to do that is if you guys are looking to start your very own podcast. Maybe you guys have been listening to us for a while. Maybe it's something you guys have always wanted to do, but you're not sure how to get started. If you go to podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys will get a month of free podcasting on set as a gift from us. So make sure if you guys are looking to start your own show, you reach out to us and go to podbean.com/misfitfaction. Also, maybe you guys have your own online business or service that you're always looking to grow, and advertising is a very big part of that. If you guys go to sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys can get $100 worth of free advertising, again, as a thank you from us to you guys. That's sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a nice break.
At least it wasn't 14 years between segments.
Yeah, that is what I was going to lead off with. Yeah, so after such a big hit of a movie, box office, this was everywhere you go, you saw something. Merchandise, people talking about it. And you would think that maybe, 2 years after this one comes out, we would be getting a sequel, because it left off with a potential for the sequel with the Underminer.
Yes.
At the very end. But no, we have to wait 14 years for this. But the good thing is, we wait 14 years for a sequel, and the sequel is just as good, maybe a little bit less than the first one to come out.
So I'm going to disagree.
Yeah?
I've seen this movie once.
Okay.
And I've had no desire to throw it back on. Like, I don't know. It's just, It's good. I really do think, though, that the break in between killed us.
Yeah.
Having such a long time between films is always a risk, right? Yes. Sometimes it works out really well, like your Top Gun Maverick, like this film, and then other times you get your Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah.
So they took a real risk. They wanted to make sure that the script was like on point, that everything was lined up.
Yeah.
And for the most part, like, the movie works. I'm not going to say it's as good as the first one.
Yeah.
Or nearly as good, at least in my very humble opinion. But I still enjoyed it when watching it. And I didn't get an epilepsy attack like some people did. Did you hear about this? Apparently there were issues. So the main bad guy in this is called the Screenslaver, which, is a nice commentary on our lives.
Yep.
And apparently there's a segment in it where there's flashing TV screens that go to like the snow.
Yes.
Yeah, and apparently some people had some issues with, they had like epilepsy or stuff like that. So there were some
yeah.
No more Disney controversy.
What else is new?
I know.
But for this one, it kind of in a way follows the same beat as the first one does. So just running down quickly the quote unquote cast, because it's just
pretty much
all
the same,
voice actors,
with the exception of Dash.
Yeah. So you have a new person voicing Dash, which honestly there wasn't a big change in that, hardly noticeable.
Yeah.
So Samuel L. Jackson is there still, Holly Hunter, Greg T. Nelson, Sarah Vowell. In this one is more kind of like what you alluded to in the first half of our show. This one was more kind of focused on like the kids and the role reversal of
Mr. Fantastic and Elastigirl.
Mr. Fantastic?
I keep doing it. Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl.
Yeah, their roles kind of get switched because Mr. Incredible was the superhero in the first movie.
Yeah.
And Elastigirl was the stay-at-home.
Right.
Now, in this, the government or whatever decided to switch the roles.
Well, so what happens in this movie is it picks up right after the first movie.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it picks up at that. Superheroes still aren't, like, publicly allowed.
Yeah.
And they're basically working as vigilantes. So the Incredibles end up making things worse, and I think the Underminer like gets away with all the money or something like that, and then like the amount of destruction that happens is like wild. So the government shuts down the Superhero Relocation Act, and now they don't get any financial assistance. They don't get any assistance moving or hiding or identity changes. But this wealthy business guy named Winston Deaver and his sister Evelyn, they run it's a
tech company,
called DevTech. they want to do secret missions to Lucius, Helen, and Bob, and they're going to be like publicized, and like they're basically trying to PR spin the superheroes.
Yes.
And it starts off going well, but apparently Elastigirl, they determined that Elastigirl is less accident prone with the men not around.
Yes.
Because they just kind of seem to make things worse. So she becomes like the face of their new, she gets like a new costume, like the motorcycle. The motorcycle is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like they do some really good stuff with her and her powers in this movie. And it was nice to kind of see her take center stage because in the first movie, she's the stay-at-home mom, and then she's like the secret mission side. Yeah. Can we just talk about when they animated her? Do you ever notice that Pixar women are exceptionally
curvy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what are they putting in our subconscious? Not since Jessica Rabbit have we had so many concerning feelings. God. But anywho,
who would think that a thing made for kids is sexualized?
Oh my gosh! You know, in like, Disney? That's so weird.
Huh? What? No way.
You can't. Come on.
No.
But I did like Edna and Jack become like best friends.
Yes.
And there's the scene of him and her like going through the entire process.
Because it was funny because at first when
she was miserable.
She was miserable. So Mr. Incredible brings Jack because he's like, I got to get a suit or something for him to control it. And Edna's like, nope, no babies. I hate babies. Paraphrasing, obviously. Yeah. And then once like she starts to see all his different abilities that he has, she's like, oh my God, this is my child.
Yeah, there's like a phrase for what kind of superhero he is. Like a paragon or something like that, where basically he could do a ton of different abilities.
Yeah.
Most supers in this world only have a single set. I think Violet's really the only exception, but you could argue that her force fields and her invisibility are kind of like one and the same.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the force field actually turns her invisible.
Yes.
But then you got, you know, obviously Mr. Incredible just has super strength and he's, you know, very durable from it. Elastigirl's elastic, dashes really fast. But then you get Jack who's like, watch this. Hold my beer.
I have 42 things I can do, and I can do it all at once.
Yeah, it was really cool seeing him. And like then they realized that obviously he's got powers. Yeah. And I don't know how it works in this superhero universe. Like they never explain where the powers come from, you know, how it happens, but you know, obviously we have like a movie like Sky High where the whole question is, am I going to get any powers or whatever? So I like that they play around with this, but and to give it to a toddler, like to make him basically like Incredible Jesus. Like I can do it all, don't worry.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But what did you think about the villains in this one? Less interesting.
Less interesting. It didn't really have any kind of like rhyme or reason to it in a way like the first one did. But at the same time, to me, this was almost like looking at society and what's wrong with society.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, you have the screen slaver, right? So it's basically looking at a screen and it hypnotizes you to do whatever the person behind the screen wants you to do.
Yeah.
Right? In this situation, it was trying to kill an ambassador, I think it was, you know, and, you know, all these different things. And that's essentially like kind of like what society is where we're so attached to our screens and whatever we see on our screens, we believe to be like true, you know, without doing any of like our own kind of thoughts and stuff like that. So to me, yes, the superhero wasn't as good.
The villain.
Yeah, sorry. The villain wasn't as good as in the first one, but this to me seemed to be more super villainy than the first one.
Yeah, I like how they also do they do the bait and switch. You kind of think it's going to be what's his face, Winston.
Yeah,
as the bad guy, but then you find out that it was Evelyn, and you know she wants to make superheroes disappear again. So like I thought it was an interesting, nice little twist, and then the fact that you find out that like their parents died because like the brother was waiting for a superhero to come save them and nobody did, and all that stuff. So again, it's why superpowers in real life would suck.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, any other thoughts on this one?
Not really. Much, Again, this one to me it was a good. It had, like I said, it kind of followed the same, you know, essentially like plot lines and everything with it. But in this one, I think we get a little bit more comedy in it. The first one seemed to be a little bit more serious, you know. But this one, I think the comedy really just comes from dealing with Jack and everything. And then you do get like your somber moments with, with Violet and Dash.
Oh my God, the cringiest moment is when they show up at the restaurant where Tony works.
Yes.
And Violet had no idea. Oh God, that's such a cringy dad move.
Oh yeah.
Woof. Rough one.
But I mean, despite Paul feeling not as good about this movie made all the money in the world.
Yes, on a budget of $200 million, it walked away with $1.243 billion.
So that means this movie made over $1 billion.
Correct.
Made over $1 billion, because if you take the $200 million, subtract that from 1.2 billion, you're left with over $1 billion left.
Wild.
And this was, I think, only the third Pixar movie to do so.
Something like that, yeah.
I think it was Finding Dory and Toy Story 3.
Never saw Finding Dory.
No?
I liked Finding Nemo enough.
You know what? I wasn't too big of a fan of Finding Dory.
That's fine. She's right there.
And you know what? Did this one win any awards? I know
it won a few awards.
I know
yes.
The Incredibles won a good amount of awards, some big awards.
It was nominated for Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature, didn't win. It won a few Annie Awards. Let's see, Kids' Choice Awards, National Board of Review Award, People's Choice for Family Friendly Favorite, Teen Choice Awards, Choice Summer Movie for Teen Choice Awards. Must have been a slow summer.
So it didn't really.
Well, this came out right before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah. So this one didn't nearly win that many big awards. Let's say. While the first one won, I know a few of the big awards and everything. But what you want to do a star seating rating?
I'm gonna give this one a 3.5. Maybe a 4. It still hits the same quality. It still has one of my favorite lines. The math is math line. It still gets me. But yeah, it's definitely if I'm going to put on an Incredibles movie, I'm probably going to watch the first one over the second one.
1,000%.
I think this movie also warrants a rewatch at some point that I got to do, and that might change my opinion. But right now, 3.5.
Yeah. So again, at the kind of the beginning of this segment, I did talk about how, to me, that this movie is just as good quality as the first one. However, it's definitely not a 4.5. I would say this movie's to me is a solid 4. I think 4. It's just under the first one. It is a good sequel. I think if it came like we said, 2 years after the first one came out,
it would have been different. Yeah,
I'm sure maybe for you it would be a solid 4.
Well, there's so much anticipation.
Yeah, I think. I mean, despite going 14 years in between and you're still making over $1 billion, is just a testament of how good the first one is.
I agree.
And the desire to have a second one. Because if you think about it, these young kids that watched the first one in 2004.
Right. They're now adults with kids.
They're adults with
kids
or
stop.
You know
stop.
what I mean?
I don't like it. Stop. Stop.
Imagine that.
I know.
You go
I'm
from
not going
watching
to.
it in kindergarten to watching it
Stop.
your senior
What are you
year.
doing right now? You're a terrible person.
But yeah, no. For me, this is a solid 4. It is pure quality when it comes to. I guess you would say this franchise. I mean, it's 2 movies. Can you really consider it?
It's not a franchise with 2 movies.
No,
it's a series.
A series. So, to me, this is one of the best series that we've. I think, and just maybe possibly, I might get a lot of hate for this, but probably the best series one of the best that we've ever had in movie history.
Oh, that's bold statement, Cod.
Because I think it's just a testament. Because if you have a movie that's a 4 and a movie that's we both said 4.5, could be a 5, don't know, kind of thing. Out of your 2 movies, you're averaging a 4.5 rating.
That's not bad.
You done did something good.
Did something good.
But I think that's going to wrap us up for our discussion on The Incredibles. But before we go, we do have our Fan Feedback Friday.
That's right. And this week, out of all the 6 Infinity Stones, we asked people which ones they would like and why. So we have the Space Stone, so you're never late. We have another answer for the Space Stone. We got the Reality Stone, to make more movies. Time Stone, better determine and alter outcomes. That's our friend Alex. Our friend Ryan said, Mind, I'd close so many deals at work. And then we also got Time, because we never have enough of it. That's nice. I like that.
See, I was thinking Time.
You were thinking Time?
I was, yeah. So I wrote Space. But I was thinking Time. But then at the same time, I was also I wouldn't want to use it to change anything.
Well, I did notice that I was thinking about it afterwards. Like, you know the scene in Doctor Strange where he's turning back the apple?
Yeah.
I wonder if I could just point it at myself and just turn myself back like 10 years? Put myself back at that point in my life?
Like physically?
Yeah, just physically.
Just physically, not mentally. I want to be where I am mentally, just physically.
They've created immortality in this series. So like when they tried to do the time machine test on Scott,
Yes.
and like he's a baby, and he's like, but he's like, he turns it to the younger kid. He's like, guys, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we just invented immortality.
Yeah. So I don't think I would do time just because I wouldn't want to go back in time to change anything, and I also don't really want to see the future.
I do.
And then I was like, maybe the Power Stone.
Oh, that's a fun one.
But the only thing is
just blowing up planets. No big deal.
yeah, and also I would die if I held it.
Yeah, I should have put a caveat that you could use any of these stones, but
okay,
that's fine.
That was my thought. I was like, well, technically you
You're
have
fine.
to be a celestial in order to
Something. You have to be
Or,
like
like,
high level of physical ability.
Yeah.
Yes.
But thank you all for participating in our Fan Feedback Friday. If you would like to participate in it and you haven't, just make sure to check out Facebook, the Multiverse Fancast, every Friday. Who would have thunk? That question goes up for you guys. Also, make sure to check out our Instagram, our website, themisfitfaction.com, to stay up to date with all of our episode releases for, obviously, this show, for Cinematic Adventures, as well as MF Uncensored. And don't forget, obviously, to download our episodes right off of Podbean, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you basically get your podcast from. This was fun. Let's do it again. As always, I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Paul.
And we'll be back in a flash.
See ya.